Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you could see it, and you could purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing one of my favorite watches of all time, the ultimate travel companion. This is the Ulysse Nardin Sonata Cathedral, a timepiece with cathedral gongs, a 24-hour on-off alarm, automatic winding, dual time capability, the works, 41.5 millimeters in white gold with an exceptionally rare factory white gold bracelet. This is a watch that's part of a model line originally released in late 2003. The Sonata became the Sonata Cathedral in 2005 with minute repeater style cathedral gongs. Instead of wrapping once around the movement, they encircle the movement 1.5 times, creating a richer, deeper tone, more melodious music, and greater sustain. It already features a minute repeater style governor, making this effectively the Cadillac of alarm watches, or as I like to say, the minute repeater of alarm watches. In terms of size, it's a bit of a tweener. It's not quite oversized, but it's bigger than full-sized. 41.5 millimeters, it wears more like a 42 or a 43, and the most similar fit I can think of is something like a Royal Oak 41 that wears larger than its size. The watch is relatively slim considering the mechanism inside, 13.6 millimeters thick, 50 millimeters from lug to lug. And you can see that because this one does feature an unusual factory bracelet, those end links project a little bit beyond the lugs. So across the wrist, this one on the bracelet wears 51.9 millimeters. The spacing between the lugs is 21 millimeters if you want to throw the watch on a strap. I will say that unlike the example on the strap, this is fairly well weighted, as the bracelet almost acts as the keel to a sailboat, preventing the top from capsizing. It doesn't want to hula hoop or move around on my wrist precisely because it is well counterweighted by the bracelet and the clasp. Now, the clasp is a conventional friction fit double fold, and the bracelet, well, it sticks to Ulysse Nardin's history of individualist design. They follow absolutely no one. For better or worse, UN is very comfortable with its alternate identity in a design mode that literally no one else is emulating. They do things that look, well, Ulysse Nardin. They have a bit of a house style, and it's wacky. You can see that there is a differential finish about this bracelet, satin finish contrasting with polished, large center links. There are positive and negative volumes. As you can see, a bit of a pagoda profile from their polished side. All of the removable links are fixed by screws, doing things the right way, no pin sleeves here. And you can see those positive and negative volumes give the bracelet an appearance like none other. It has a three-dimensional quality that's rare in bracelets, and as you can see on the underside, big gaps to vent the wrist as well as to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. The clasp is simple, it's a double fold with friction fit, and it's not a sporting clasp, so there's no locking mechanism, but it offers you security against droppage while donning or removing at night, and it features the Ulysse Nardin anchor logo. Rolling back to the case profile, you can see that the lugs are very Ulysse Nardin, which is to say large, bold, and again, not quite like anything else. Striking and strident, they have tremendous volume, and a sharp bevel along their edge, a fluting to break up their mass. You can see the case itself is fairly rotund, with a compound curvature around its flank. It's a little bit vintage. It's almost like an old Patek Philippe 3970 on a much larger scale. It's all mirror polished, so there's no subtlety here, but you can see there is a concave bezel that visually pairs the mass of the watch. And I have to say, all things considered, Ulysse Nardin did a good job of balancing the watch from side to side, considering the sheer amount of apparatus necessary to operate and energize this watch. There's a equal weighting of mechanism on both sides. Now let's start outside and work our way in with the dial. So there's a flange or Rayhaut outboard in matte blue with applique diamond polished steel rhodium plated indices plus lume. You have a blue applique over the center of the dial, and then you can see there are sub-registers fixed to the dial by blued screws. You'll also note that the dial base itself is brass rhodium plated with Côte de Genève, an unusual look, and then there's a bridge for the governor that paces the chime. You'll also note there is a double-digit date in the watch. I'm going to quickly zero everything out at exactly 12. And you can see, because the countdown is set to 0, that means you are looking at 12 midnight. There is an on-off system for the alarm, and since I've spoken so extensively about it, it should really be allowed to speak for itself. The governor keeps it slow, The chimes keep it melodious, and you saw on the reverse side black polished strikers as you would find with a minute repeater. Now the watch does feature a bidirectional double-digit date, and I'm not going to attempt to quick set it because we're set to dead midnight, but I'm first going to show you the GMT system that allows me to quickly and easily cycle the time. Now the next thing I want to show you is that you have a bidirectional date system that allows you to easily cycle in either direction. This is an unusual refinement that you won't find too often on other watches. Very few watches feature a bidirectional quickset, and I do not know why that is. You'll also appreciate the fact there is a second time zone. Now to set the second time zone, you pull the crown out, one stop, and you move everything in sync. You can see as the center hands move in 12-hour cycles, the second time zone moves in one circuit per day, and I can quite easily set the watch in such a fashion. Now, in order to set the alarm, what I do is I pull the crown out all the way. Now, you'll see I set the alarm, and you have a countdown format that will tell you how many hours until the watch sounds the chime. So for example, if I want to set the watch to sound at 10 p.m., I'm going to set the countdown to 22. So the 22 lets me know that relative to the current time, the watch is going to chime at 10. So at 10 o'clock, but I don't know that's 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. until I look to the countdown and I see, oh, it's set to 2200 rather than, for example, 10. So that's going to set the thing off at 10 p.m. And it's a wonderful feature because if you just want the watch to chime in an hour, say you're cooking, you're waiting for a flight, you can set it accordingly rather than trying to set it against the time scale. So you can set it for countdown and you can set it in a 24-hour format. You can also toggle it on and you can toggle it off. Now I should talk a little bit about winding the watch. Counterclockwise winds the strike barrel. That winds the alarm system, whereas winding it in a clockwise direction energizes the watch. You can overwind, so wait until you feel the resistance and then stop. You cannot overwind the time. The watch beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour thanks to manufacturer caliber UN67. Automatic winding, 42-hour power reserve, an extraordinary 109 joules and over 400 parts. It's energized by a lovely rusticated 22 karat gold winding mass that features an inlaid lacquer anchor as well as engraving Sonata Cathedral, and you can see Côte de Genève on the bridges. That rustication or rough form over the rotor, there's actually a pretty good anglage or chamfer, nicely rounded and mirrored on the bridges with blued screws, fire annealed blue screws, of course not the dyed kind, and at center you can see black polished center to the rotor. The watch features every function and every feature and refinement except great water resistance, it's 30 meters, and it doesn't feature hacking seconds, but in every other regard, 24-hour on-off alarm, countdown alarm mode, a big date, 2 time zones, a friendly GMT plus-minus system for changing your current time zone. This is the ultimate travel watch and one of my all-time favorite timepieces from any brand. See and own the Ulysse Nardin Sonata Cathedral on the watch box. The Ulysse Nardin Sonata Cathedral by night.